big deal. Basically, what we're going to be talking about is weaving cats. I often get questions, can I weave these cats on my rigid Heddle loom? Well, you can do it, and I'm going to share with you one way you can do that. It's not the way that I do it, it's just another way that you can actually weave cats using your rigid Heddle loom. My plan, though, is to first go to my 8-shaft loom to show you how I do it on that loom, and then I'm going to focus on my rigid Heddle loom that I have set up to weave some cats. Now, first of all, this one I'm weaving 25 cats. We're not going to be doing 25 cats on the rigid Heddle loom because it's going to take a little more time. We always have to do a different kind of technique. So I just want to share that with you. If you have questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. Again, I will do my best to try to answer them during the live, but often I get kind of involved in what I'm doing and it just doesn't happen that way. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to focus on the 8-shaft loom that's to my right. So excuse me while I move the camera. And what I'm going to suggest is if you have the ability to zoom in while I'm doing the presentation to see things better, please do it that way. I'm not able to zoom in while I'm sitting at the loom and showing the close-up, so I'm going to do the best I can to do that. Hello, Ellen. All right. Like I said, part one is the 8-shaft loom. So if you're tuning in and going, wait a minute, she said rigid Heddle. We're going to get there in a moment. So first of all, again, we have the cats. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the yarn because the yarn I use here is very similar to the yarn that I'm going to be using on the rigid Heddle loom. The yarn that's in the loom here, let me move my paper away. This happens to be 6/2 cotton. The yarn, and it's set at 18 ends per inch. The rigid Heddle loom is 15 ends per inch, and I believe it's 5/2. It's a little bit thicker yarn. Now we also have, I already wove a little bit of part of this, and now what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the pattern. This is what we call overshot. Now why do we call it overshot? Well, because it kind of overshoots some of the threads. It doesn't go to every single thread, at least the pattern doesn't. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use this pattern, and I'm going to use the same pattern when I get to the rigid Heddle loom. And if you take a look here, this is threaded a certain way. So if you don't have 8 shafts, it's okay, because I'll explain how you can do it with only a rigid Heddle. But what's happening here is you see this is going over 3 threads. So the tail goes over 3 threads, and then it goes over up here 7, 9, and 11, and then we go back the other direction. Now what would happen if I just kept going back and forth with this? It would all come out, and it just wouldn't look right. So what we do in overshot is we add another thread that kind of locks it in place. This thread happens to be a little thinner than what's in the warp. You don't have to go that thin. I just think it makes the cat, or whatever you're doing, pop a little better. So let me explain what's going to happen here. I've already started the cat tail, and I have the cat tail set up on the rigid Heddle. I'm not going to go through the tie-up process. I'm just going to explain, or I'm going to press. Right now I have the loom set up that if I press one treadle, all of these are parts of the cat tail. So basically right now, the 3 threads for each cat tail are down there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my shuttles around here. I am going to take this through. Oh, I have to catch the edge here. One of the things that I don't do is I don't use floating selvages. I know, it's just my thing. So I have a little extra. So what happens is I'm doing the cat tail, a little bit there. I have actually 5 to do, but now I have to lift every other thread. It's kind of like your rigid Heddle, slot and holes. I am now going to press another treadle, and it's every other thread. So we're going to go across, And now they're locked into place. Kind of holds them there. I'm going to do another one for the cattail. And like I said, I'm going to transfer this information. Another one of a lock. I have another one for the cattail. It's overshooting 3 threads for every tail, all 25 cats that are on there. Now this is what happens when I get to the next section. Well, now we have to go over, in this case, it's 7 threads. I'm only going to do one of these, and then we're going to go right to the rigid Heddle loom. So now I have this set up, and if I press another treadle, wow, look at that. I have 7, but it's all the cats at one time. So now I can go across and get all of that at one time, and then I have to do this with the other thread. And of course, what I'll continue to do is follow this. I don't have all of the tabbies in there, but I do have it on the other one. So once I get to that, I'll show you what that is about. So again, this is with the 8-shaft loom. Different things automatically go up and down, but they're not going to do that on your rigid Heddle. You have to do it yourself. And some of you have done pickup. So basically, this is going to be a form of pickup. So now we're going to switch over to the other loom. And you get to see the computer and everything else. Now this time I'm going to, again, do my best to try to zoom in. Once in a while I'm going to have to probably move things around a little bit so you can see what's happening. All right, let's see if I can zoom around here, move around here, I should say. And I have to get a chair to sit on. Bear with me. Again, if you want to zoom in a little closer on what I'm doing, that would be great. All right, so as you can see here, I've already started doing the cattails. But how did I get to this? How did I get to this point? Well, I'm going to show you a little bit of a rough draft here. And I have 2 papers that if you are interested, I'll share this with you in a minute. So what I did was I decided I'm not going to do, and I don't think I have a rigid Heddle loom that's quite that wide. For this demonstration, I decided to do 3 cats. And my plan was to do 4 inches. This is a 15 dent reed. You could use a 12. And I know now they have all these other reeds out there. You can get 20 and 24, and they're all different. I think they're metal. But this one's 15. It's the smallest that I have. And what I did is I said, this is probably like a 5'2", 4'2", I'm not sure, about approximately that weight. My plan was to have 4 inches, and this is set at 15 dents per inch. Well, when I was done, I only had 58 threads rather than 60. So I worked with it. What I did, and this is something, even if you don't want to do cats, maybe some of you are already thinking, oh, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that. There's a lot of things you could probably do. And what I had to do was, I used the old graph paper, and I found out that the cat, the thickest part of the cat is 11. It goes over shots, over 11 threads. Then there's a space of 3. Then there's another 11, and another space of 3, and another 11. I meant a space in between each cat. So what I had to do was I took the 3 cats, 3 times 11, 33. Then I added the spaces in and came up with 39. So I went up to my 58, subtracted it, and I had 19 left over because I wanted to put something on each end. Well, it's a little different. So I ended up with, I think, let's see here. Down here, I ended up with 14, but the thickest part was 10 on one side and there's 9 on the other. It's okay that way. So this is what I had to do to figure out what it was I'm going to do and how I'm going to do this to make these cats all look nice and centered on this piece. Here's that paper I had for the other one. Okay, yes. These are the charts. These are the 2 charts that I will send you. I'm not going to send you all the math. You have to do the math yourself. But you can count all the squares. So if you're interested, like I see someone already commented, these are the 2 that that I already have that I can send you in a PDF. All right, so this is the same thing we saw over there. It shows you, and these are all the threads that are going in the warp. And here, I call these the cats that look like they're in prison, you know, the old striped outfits that the prisoners wore. I did this one because it actually shows you the dark thread or the thicker thread for the motif, and then I have the white thread that goes in every other one. So you have the two there. And this one isn't counted out, it's just a 0 in. This one I kind of counted out. And again, you can do as many cats as you want. You can just do one, whatever you decide to do. It looks, the thinner the yarn you can use, the thinner the reed, it just looks a little nicer. Now the other thing is, I forgot to show you, because it's skipping a lot, this is where you have to use your imagination here. All right, so we see the cats on this side, and they're floats. Now the floats can be a problem if maybe it's clothing you're wearing, but this is something on the table. Now I want you to, this is the other side. Now look very closely, and you can see the green cat. It's kind of like a positive or a negative of a photograph. So if you look closely, you see the cats there. So that's what's happening on the other side of the fabric. And of course, this has been washed and dried. Once it's all washed and dried, it really looks a lot tighter. Now, what did I do? Well, let's go. I'm going to use, I think, this one. I already started, and what you need, I'm going to have things falling on the floor here in a moment, is a pickup stick. It's nice to have one that has like a beveled edge and maybe a little bit of a point or whatever. Okay, yeah, I see everyone saying they want the chart, please. Yes, you'll get the two of those. So we have this. Now, what I did already was I already counted over, and now I'm going back to my count sheet here. So what I did for the first one, I went over 14, and then I pressed down the 3, 11 spaces and 3. Let me demonstrate. It's easier if I do it. I have this in the rest position to do the pattern. And since I want to catch that first thread, you don't have a floating selvage on rigid Heddle looms, or you could set that up. I'm going to get the very outside one. Make sure I have the outside. This one. All right, so I'm going to press that down. And then what I'm going to do, since I have 4, I have 1 more for the cat. I'm going to turn this toward me because otherwise I'm going to press down the wrong one. So I have 3, pressing down. It's really kind of like raising these up, in a sense, like on my other loom. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. Come over here, do it again. And I'm just going to put that out to the end. And like you do if you have done some other kinds of pickup patterns with your rigid Heddle loom, you turn the pickup stick on the edge. And I'm going to take the pattern through. We have 1 more for the tail to do. I'm going to do my best. You're going to probably hear me drop it on the floor. And you can use, you could use this as your beater if you want to, or you could use this as your beater. But now I have to follow with the tabby. And this is where I did this earlier today, and I have to figure out which way I was going. So in this case, I'm going to press down. What I'm going to also do is kind of beat it. All right, I'm going to press it down. And this yarn is an 8-2. It's a little thinner than the warp. Again, I just think it pops a little bit better. You can see it if you use a thinner thread. I'm going to take that through, just like you would on if you're making something. Put everything here. And I'm going to beat it. I'm going to put this back in the rest position. Now where are we? Well, now we're to where it's going over 7. But what's nice, once you have the pattern started, I don't have to count over this way. I'm just going to add on to each side. So I know that the next one, we had 3. The next one's going to be 7. What I'm going to do now is, again, I don't need to catch that. I'll catch it on the end here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press, I added 2 there. I have the next 3, and I have 2. So I have the 1 cat ready. And do it again. 2, 3, and then 2. Again, because what I have now is I want 7 to go down. And I'm going to pop that last one over there. Same thing. Put it up on the edge. Wow, I haven't dropped a shuttle yet. Put this through. Yeah, I see more charts. Wonderful. All right, that through. And again, you can beat it this way, or I can use the other. I could use the beater. Now I'm going to go up, and I'm going to bring my tabby through. Or you call it a plain weave. Same thing. I'm going to bring it this way. I'm going to go back in the center. And now the next one happens to be 9. So I'm going to float over, overshot 9. Again, since I've already started it, put that there. Since I've already done that before, all I have to do is add on the edge, go across. I actually did this demonstration, probably about a year ago, and I only did one cat, but it didn't. I thought this is a little bit better. Anyway, again, I have to move this toward me, and I'll try to move it back because it is hard to make sure that I get all of those. Something isn't right. I need 7. I did 2. Where are we at here? You know what? I think I only wanted to add 1 on the next one. Yeah, the next one I only want to add 1. That's what the problem is. I want to add 1 and 1, and I'm adding 1 again and 1. I counted wrong. 1 again and 1 again. So I just made it a little bit bigger, and this should be where we are, 7 and 9. So let's take the black through again. And we take the tabby through. Whoa, told you I'm going to end up dropping my shuttle here. There we go. And I'm going to do 1 more, put this back in, because now we're ready to do, I'm going to add 1 more on each side. And do the same thing. I'm going to add just 1. 1. 1. 1. 1 and 1. Turn to the side again and go back. Look at my time here. All right. Oh, yeah, we're okay. That's going to catch. And this is, again, what I wanted to do and I didn't do on the other end was I wanted to catch one of these on here. It's going to flop on me. Give me that. There we go. That through. And again, so now we're a little bit wider. It might be a good idea, though, to press with this. And then, again, we're coming back with the tabby. So what's going to happen, I think you've already figured it out, is that I'm going to keep on going. So now I'm going to keep on going with this part until I get to the top here, and then it's going to decrease and go the other direction. Any questions? I think this kind of makes sense, but that's what you keep on doing. And then I can sit here and do it all, but I think most of you can probably now figure out basically what's happening on that. And the other side is, like I said, the reverse. Sometimes your selvages are going to be a little funky, but perhaps you're going to use it in another pattern. I'll do 1 more because this is already set. I'm going to take the outside thread and I'm going to do the same one again. So right now it's a lot easier because I'm going through the same ones that I did. I don't have to add any more. And then we will decrease after I go on that. Uh-oh, we dropped the shuttle. It's hanging by a thread. All right, bring it through. Beat it either way you want. And then again, going back the other direction. Any questions? Looks a little out of whack here, but that's just because of probably I missed one thing or whatever. I'm trying to do it live on the computer here. All right. So I have several people who would like the charts, and again, what you're going to get. And I think right now you can think about all kinds of things you could do, any other kind of cartoons. So what I'll send you is a PDF of these two patterns. And again, when you get up here, just remember, you're just going to have to go over two or press those down and lift up the other ones. And then you can finish your cats, and you can do as many as you want, have fun with it. Then if you want to keep weaving and make it longer, or maybe you want to come up with another idea. If you come up with other ideas, I would love to know what they are. Or, maybe you just have saw something that you like. Remember, it has to be symmetrical. All right, let me move over here, move around, get things back so I can actually, you can see me again. Not that I like to be shown on the camera, but hi, Jocelyn. All right, I see more people have tuned in. And again, if you missed it, I gotta make sure I have this. My camera's a little wonky right now. Let me get that way. All right. All right. Yes, looks like I'm tilted a little bit. My gadget that I use to hold up my iPad got a little bit tilted on that. Hopefully I'm sitting straight though. All right. Convince your husband I need another loom. And I would love the chart. Yeah, I think the thing is that the reason why, I think you can see the process it takes to weave all of those cats and how much quicker you can do it if you have more shafts. You do need 8 to do this particular pattern. There are some patterns you can do with 4 shafts, but what happens is the more you have, you can almost see, you can go wider and narrower, and you can come up with all kinds of different patterns. I do have a 12 shaft loom, but I have not investigated making patterns with that because not a lot of people have the 12 shaft, but I still might do that. And there's some other things you could also do as well. Absolutely, any charted figure. You come up with something, just remember though, there's floats, and that's why the thinner thread you use, the better than the thicker thread. Or if it's just for something decorative, maybe you're doing a pillow or something like that, the problem is it's not locked in the middle. There is a way, if I wanted to, here's something, think about this, which I don't do, is if I wanted to put little buttons down the front of the cat, then I could have just kind of pushed down on one of those threads in the middle, and the cat would have a little buttons, and that thread would be more secure. That's some of the things about when you're working around different kinds of yarn and fibers and patterns. You start to figure out ways to do that. That is all I have for tonight. Like I said, this will be on Facebook for 30 days on WAFA. I hope to upload it to my YouTube channel, as well as I'm going to try to do a better documented one, kind of close up of steps that people can also do if they would like to see that as well. But thank you, everyone. Like I said, if I missed any comments on here, I will answer them later. And everyone who has asked for those handouts, I will send them to you probably in the next hour. Otherwise, I'll forget. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and take care.